Good morning everyone and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity and Tutorial Tuesday, which sometimes can be a disaster. Let's hope not today because it's quite a simple one. And as I said yesterday, I'm going to do these two dies. I'm going to do them in a minute. This one hasn't even been cut apart yet. I haven't even made that one yet, but I'm going to run off and die cut in a second, cut all those pieces and show you how they fold and how they go together. So that's coming up in a few minutes, but first of all I'm going to be doing the unicorn set that I showed you yesterday, and I've got a Dollar Tree sticky pad there, which is always a useful thing, but I don't know why it's there. And we've got the rainbow, the clouds, and the swag, which I'm going to use. I haven't decided which unicorn I'm going to use, and we're going to cut the base with those clouds. So first of all, I'm going to run off and do some die cutting, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've done that, and I've got myself a project mat here. This is a silicone mat. I'll pop that down where hopefully it can be seen in camera. Look at that when you squish on it. There's the humidity. Can you see that underneath? Isn't that amazing? Yeah, not nice. Right, and I've got a little scrap of the cardstock that I'm using, and I'll talk about that in a second. I've got a piece of scrunched up kitchen paper all ready to go to wipe my yucky fingers, and I'm using these pens. Right, I've got 3 Jane Davenport watercolours here, and I've got 2 of the Crafter's Companion Spectrum Noir sparkle pens, and if it has a name on it, there you go. We've got Moonstone and Rose Quartz. We've got a bit of reflection in here, so not easy to see those. And then in the Jane Davenport watercolour pens, I've got Beach, I've got Driftwood, and I've got Meteorite. This one has a lot of mica in it, and of course the sparkle pens also have mica. When you get one of these, they need shaking, and as you can see down here, when you shake it makes an awful mess. So when you pull the lid off, make sure you pull it away from your project, unless you're trying to get a sort of splishy, splashy, splodgy effect is the only way to describe it. Right, what else have I got? Oh yes, my die cuts. Can't forget those. Right, so what I did was I've cut pink and white and pop those on foam pads. See if we can see in there. There we go. That's just sparkle cardstock there from Joanne. So that is going to be my base. So I thought my camera went extremely dark there for a second, which felt a bit weird. Unless it's because I got a huge amount of sunshine through the window. Who knows? Technology, eh? So that's going to be my base. I couldn't decide which of these 2 unicorns I wanted to do, but you can see all the lovely embossed detail in them. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one and save that one for next week. So I'm going to do my little seated unicorn. Now, while I was away, I did sploosh with the pens that I've shown you, and I've done my rainbow very, very easy. Just followed it along and then went over the whole thing with rose quartz, and I put some foam pads on the back. Don't want to stick that down yet because I've also cut the little swag banner, and I don't know sort of like where I'm going to position that, because if it goes under there, I don't want to have stuck my rainbow down yet, if you know what I mean. And I've also cut that little starry cloud. Now, because I've used really thick cardstock, this is acrylic cardstock, which is twice as thick before you cut it, because of course it compresses when you cut it, as watercolor cardstock. And because it's acrylic, it's not meant to get hugely soaked and wet. As I say, it's not watercolor cardstock, but it will take some moisture. It's cheaper than watercolor cardstock, and I quite like it. And I'm thinking, you know, sort of arranging that, if I've got that behind there and I'm going to pop that there somewhere, and then this kind of like fits onto that big cloud, and sitting that around there somewhere. So, right, the bits that I haven't coloured in yet, let's get to some splooshing. Somebody said yesterday they quite like the word splooshing. I don't even know if that word is in the dictionary. And if it isn't, really, I don't care. So here goes. Right, first of all, I need to shake this. I'm going to shake it off camera because it takes a couple of minutes. Right, I've done that. And I'm wondering if I need to bring the camera down just a little bit more. That might help. And I'm going to do my rainbows in silver. So this bit's really quick and easy. Don't know what colour I'm going to do the flags. Might do those in blue actually. And I will pick this up so that you can have a better look. Now, the interesting thing when you put down watercolour, whether it's out of a palette or out of a pen, onto acrylic cardstock, once it's there, it's there. It's permanent. You're not going to move it at all. So if you go in and you start adding other colours, don't expect them to blend because they just won't do that. So you have to be a little bit judicious about where you want things. So I've got silver rainbows and I think I've coloured them in. You know me, sploosh it about. Let's not be perfect. And you can see as well, I think, the amount of mica that's left on the mat. Right, now find my lid. And as I was saying, you know, you look inside and it's all... So whatever you do when you're shaking it, and it can be hard to get the lid back on, is just take the cap off away from your project. But you can see just how yucky it gets inside that pen. Right, now if I pick that up, and hopefully you can see some shimmer. And now I'm going to go over that with blue, which I think is complementary to that colour. And that is the Moonstone in Crafter's Companion. And I'm just going to go over the whole thing. And I might squeeze some out onto the mat, actually. There we go. Now, when you squeeze out, you find that your colour is more intense than just going into a dry brush, if you know what I mean. So as I was saying about the colour going in and not being able to move it, that does actually mean that if you want to do other details and go back over it, you're going to be constantly darkening things up. So I'm splooshing a little bit around there and I'm having it on the rainbow. So I do want my rainbow to be a little bit darker because it's going to be in the background and shadowed, so to speak. So that is what I have for my rainbow. I'm going to pick that up, try and get a close up and see if it's going to do any shimmering or sparkling for the camera. Really, really difficult sometimes to look at that. We're almost microscopic. There goes my phone. Just on time. Well, anyway, I'm going to put that one down to dry. And I'm going to get this and remove the mica from the mat. And you can see that all nice and yucky. Right, next thing I want to do is concentrate on the cloud, and it's going to be similar colours again. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go in with the Moonstone all over the cloud. Just get it over really, really quickly. You don't want too much saturation. There, that's all I want. I don't mind that it's all blotchy. I like that kind of watery, colory sort of imperfection of it. And then I'm going over with the Jane Davenport pen and I'm just going to pick out some of those little blobs and I'm going to pick out the stars. As I said, absolutely no perfection, just dot it down, sploosh it about. And I hope everybody has a good day splooshing today. There we go. I found all the little areas there and coloured them in. Couple down there, I think, and that's it. That's all I can be bothered with on that cloud. So If you hold that up with the rainbow, you've now got kind of like two matching pieces that have been splooshed. Right, next up is the unicorn. Now, looking at it, I know that there's going to be points of shadow. Where there's going to be points of shadow, I don't know. I'm thinking it's in the embossed area, so that's exactly what I'm going to go with. And this time, where am I? I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use, what's it called? Driftwood, which when you look at the cap, you think it's silver, but it's not. It's which is why I've got this scrap here, so I can get it down and see exactly what I've got. It's a kind of browny grey. So I'm going to pop some of that just along the edge of where I've got some shadow areas and under the hair. I do apologise about my throat today. I'm really, really croaky. And I'm just going to get just a little bit in the hair. Now, this is one of those that you don't want to be too fussy with it because, yeah, I know it's a unicorn, but it needs to have a lot of white space in it too. Now, I've got hair there as well. So even though I've got bright sunshine there, I'm going to pick it up so that you can see. You can see where I just sploosh that little bit of ink there, where I want my shadows and around the edge. I don't know if I can fix that light. Hang on a second. I'm just going to pause and shut the blind. Okay, so I think that's a little bit better. I'm trying to look over there. And I'm going to go in now with the, where's it gone? With my Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen in the Moonstone and just pick out some of those shadows again. Like I say, I'm not aiming to be perfect, and I do still want a sufficient amount of white. Now I'm going to put some along the hoofy bits. So I don't really want to overthink it, if you know what I mean. And then I am going to have my hooves, I think, in the dark silver. I haven't got a clue what this looks like on the website now. I'm just doing my own thing. So there's lots of mica, as I say, in this paint. So we're getting the sparkle, and it's almost, in a way, I guess, a unicorn for an adult. It's a grown-up's unicorn. That's what it is. We just make it up as we go along. And I'm now going to go back in with some more of the driftwood. Yeah, driftwood. And I'm going to go down its hoof. Cast a little bit of shadow up here. A little bit more here, as we've got that there. That's probably going to darken up. But you see, I just went over that. And it does not move that colour once it's down at all. And now I'm going to go in with the rose quartz, and I want to do the mane of the unicorn. Just put some pink in there. Might put some blue in there as well. I want to pick out what's supposed to be the ear. Very, very subtle shades this. I'm going to go a little bit of pink down the top of its nose. And I think on the website it has a cheek, so I'm going to give it a little cheek. And I keep looking at the camera to see if I can see anything. I hope that you can, because I can't. I'm going to try and fix something with that in a minute before I start putting the swing cards together. And put a little bit of pink down there. But as I said, you know, you want to keep the white because that's what unicorns are supposed to be. Pretty. Right. I think I've got enough shadow and stuff going on there now. And I'm quite happy with that. Ooh, now I need some more driftwood in the feet. I've just realised I left that bit empty. There we go. And I want to put just a tiny bit of blue into the hair. So I might just follow some of those lines. Put just a bit of blue in. Just sploosh it on. Oh, actually, I think I quite like that. Which is a good thing, because as I've done it now. Right, that's a bit. I'm just going to put a little bit up there. A little bit of shadow behind that ear. Maybe just a little touch on the unicorn's horn. Right. Let me pick that up. You can see it's all kind of mottled and splotchy. This has been well and truly splooshed. So I've got all of my pieces in order to put that together now, and I'm just going to move my mat and go in with my kitchen paper. Always watching the clock, me. And I'm going back to my card base, and I do know that I want this piece underneath there. So it's kind of like deciding where about under the rainbow rather than over it. Somewhere under the rainbow. That's probably where you'd find me, actually. Right. I like that. So I think maybe a little bit more over there. So I'm going to stick those down exactly where you see them, and I'll be back. Ooh, how quick and easy was that? So that is down. I'm going to get a couple of pads here, and I'm going to pop them here, because we always like to have loads of dimension. Dimension is good. And decide upon where on there, because you can have it at any angle. And remember, your pad is not going to stick until you push it down. So do we want to be straight? Yeah, let's go there. So that's the cloud, and now I need to put a couple of pads down on the back of our unicorn here. Just tear off a couple. And before I actually stick it down, I want to see how it lies on the landscape, because it may need extra pads in other places, which I don't think it does, because it kind of meets that cloud. So that's okay. So I can just go down there in the center. You've got little spaces either side now where you could pop a sentiment if you wanted to. So I'm just tearing off the backs from my Dollar Tree sticky pads. Got a little bit of fluff there, and hopefully I'm getting this straight. Just want it right down in that curve. There we go. Very fast card that was splooshed in sparkles. You can see I've got some on there, and look at my hands. Can you see it? Now you do need to use very, very cheap hairspray from Dollar Tree to fix mica sprays, paints, and these brush pens. But just really, really loosely done. Very grown-up unicorn. I love that. I mean, you can, if you want to, put some glitter and some sparkles. In fact, I think that the mane there should have some glitter and sparkles. So I'm just going to go into my Dollar Tree glue and make sure that it's working. And I'm going to dot a little bit of glue down in some of the places. Because as I say, its features are quite grown up, if you know what I mean. So it's a perfect unicorn for an adult. And then I'm going to get some of my diamond dust and just make a nice mess that I can clean up before we get into the next project. So I'm just sprinkling. It's only going to have ever such a little bit, just a touch. And then usually what I do is I just tap it so that it makes good contact, and then put my extras. I'm just going to tip it for a minute back into the pot, and then when that's dry, it's just got a hint of a glint along with its sparkle. And when I've lifted the camera up again, I'm going to show you what we've done right at the end. Right, now off to die cut those other things and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back and I've cut everything in white to make it simple. Now with the die cut apart, you're getting 3 small almost rectangular squares which will fit the stairs of this particular card. You get a background piece, you get another piece. I'm going to show you where all these go. You get this piece and you get this piece. This is the piece that will score and pop. So this one isn't so much a swing card but a pop-up card. So what I've got from there is I have my background piece. Okay, I'm going to have to lift the camera now because it's not unicorn anymore. So we've got a background piece, we've got the pop-up section, which is this piece, and we're going to do that in a minute. You can see that it's scored its lines there and it's also put its cuts in. And then you have decorative pieces. You have to kind of imagine you've cut these in pretty papers and one would go there and one would go there, so that you've got all that nice decoration around these 3 elements that pop out. And then imagine that you've got these cut in pretty papers too, and they lay on top of your stairs, which would be like that. Okay, so I'll take those away slowly so you can remember where they go, and then we'll put it together. So you've got that goes there, this one, so I've cut all my nails off because I've been in the garden, that goes there, and then your 3 decorative elements that go onto your steps. Now the first thing that you need to do to make this work is you've got to fold this in half. So take it point to point. I think I've got a bone folder somewhere. You know what I'm like. I need to move those dies that way around. Grab my bone folder. Pop it down. Make sure that you've got it in half. Gentle push with your fingers. And then just finish it off with your bone folder so that you've got a nice crease. So that one solid piece folded in half like that. Now, I haven't got a clue what's going on with my camera again. Yeah, maybe it's all the white. Maybe that's what's doing it. And then you've got this piece here and you need to fold this in. You see you've got a score line there. So fold that over. It's very easy to do because it's really well scored. And go down that with your bone folder tool so that you've got that done nicely. And just pop it back out of the way for a minute. And then you've got your little step pieces which are going to come up, and you can see there where your score lines are. So you're going to need to fold it and manipulate it. So let's get that going. Just crease them just slightly with your finger to begin with, just so you know where everything is, because as you can see this one is much further back. So all we're doing is starting them off. Fold that one in, go along to this line here and fold that one in, and then we've got this line here and we need to push on that, make sure I've got that score line, and I'm going to put that one in, and then they're going to be easier to manipulate. I'm just squashing them a bit there, and then I'm going to move that one to there. So if I go quiet you have to excuse me. Ooh, that actually doesn't feel right. Ooh, hang on a minute while I pause. I'm just going to pause. I've just got to ponder on that. I'll just show you how much of a noodle I was. I was actually folding it in the wrong direction. So there you go, you see. It happens to the best of us. Take the whole thing over and lay it flat and go down with your bone folding tool. There you go. And there you've got your step action, which is like that. It should look like that from the side. And that's where that decorative piece will go, right onto there. So there are your 3 steps. Right, now you've got this folded in half. And the reason you've got it folded in half is because you want to assess where you're going to stick that piece to the actual card itself. So you're going all the way down and you're folding it. That should fold right inside like that, so that when it's opened, it's popping up. Now, I personally, as a designer, can see that there's an actual flaw in the way that's been done. So it can't actually go down. It's got to go to the borders on the edges. Can you see that? For it to work. So when it's folded, you are going to have a bit that's hanging out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that together. I'm just going to get my Dollar Tree glue, and all that you're going to need to do is go around the scallop edge on either side there. You're not going to be touching any of the rest of it. And my glue does take a couple of minutes to dry. So I'm going to guess, I'm trying to stay in camera, that is going to go there. Lift it up again. You can maneuver this glue around for a while. So I'm going to give myself a border there, and then I'm lifting it up towards myself because I want an even border, and then I'm going to have that edge glued down there. Now I'm hoping I've got it straight, and then I'm going to fold it. Now my advice would be is that if you didn't want to see the point that sticks out, and that is actually something that happens on a lot of these step cards, you can cut a large rectangle that this whole thing glues inside of. But if you see that there, when you open it, you've now got your step. And that's basically how it goes. So decorating it, you would actually do before you got to this point, because if I can show you, you're kind of like working mid-air if you sort of like put that together first and then add your extras on after. So work on it and decorate it while it's flat, and not like how I'm doing it now, because if you're going to put down some nice fancy paper, you'd want it to be, you know, kind of true and accurate. So that is where that one would go, onto there like that. And then of course you can close that shut just to fix that down firmly. So that one would go there, and then this piece here will go into here. So I'm just going to do that, and look at that, my Dollar Tree glue has shifted. I told you we have disasters on this show, so this isn't going to look very neat and tidy at all. I may actually have to make one and show you finished neatly. So that was not supposed to happen. And of course, you're going to wait for your glue to dry. So this one, again, you know, is a decorative piece, and you would work on it flat. In fact, I think I might do this again next week, because I do feel that I made a bit of a pig's ear of it. And then that would go in there, and obviously you're going to need to put it in accurately again. Now, I did fold my card before it was dry, so that's not something that you want to do. But imagine that that's a nice decorative piece and that my glue didn't just slide. And then you've got your other decorative panel there. So the card does work. And then you can just press everything flat as you're doing it. And then on this bit here, that is where your 3 squares would go. Now, that's pretty obvious, so I don't need to glue those down, I don't think. You can actually see that for yourselves. But that is how it works. And if I get rid of those rectangles out of the way, you can see it stands up nicely. It does open and close nicely. This step point here, as I say, if you cut a larger strip of cardstock, it's going to hide that. And this would actually go inside a big rectangle. And I personally think that would make a much nicer card. But that is how the step card works. And I do apologise for my Dollar Tree glue slipping. So we've had a disaster today, but it's an honest disaster, or shall I say an honest mistake. And you do need to wait for your glue to dry before folding it over, because as I say, it did shift it along the seams. But it does give you a border edge, it gives you some fancy trims, and it does work, you know. I'm not going to lie, it does work. It is a great card. But personally for me, it's things like this. Now, when I'm designing dies, I actually draw and cut everything by hand. That's just something that I like to do, because I can chop things away and change them before I go back and draw again. And something like this I find extremely annoying. So as a designer, I would have to take a large rectangle and put it with this die so that the whole thing sat inside, and when it was folded, no one ever got to see that. That's the way my mind works. But it is beautiful, and as you can see, it's come unglued now because I peeled it off its Dollar Tree glue. But it does work, and that's the important thing, is that it works. So, apologies for my disaster, but we did do some splooshing as well. And tomorrow I've decided I'm going to do something which might be extremely messy. So I'm going to come back and play again tomorrow, and I'm going to be using some dies from MXR and a product which might be a little bit unexpected for making a card. So from a semi-disaster to something quite pretty. Yeah, I do like that. You have an absolutely awesome day. As usual, all links below, and I will be back to do that one properly. Bye.